Welcome back to the whole nine yards here. Drew Pien, Brandon Krikorian. Saturday afternoon. Divisional games today. Probably the lesser of the two, days for games. Bengals, Titans, 49ers, Packers versus, Rams, Bucks, and Bills, Chiefs. Sunday's games are better. I think everybody knows that,
Yeah.
but and exciting. This is probably the best football week, even though there's only 4 games. I mean, realistically, on most regular season weeks, you're only watching at most, probably at most 3 games with red zone, on the side, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for this week. Brandon, how's it going?
It's good. I mean, I'm excited, like you said. Today, like you said, today's not the better of the 2 days, but it's still the night game is going to be a great game in my opinion. Even this first game, I think it's going to be a good game. It's just not an exciting game, but I think it still will be a good game. So we'll see. But for sure, tomorrow's games, and we'll talk about them. I'm definitely excited for those games. And that Bills Chiefs game feels like an AFC Championship game, almost similar to the NBA playoffs this past year with the Nets Bucks. It was in the second round, but that felt like the championship, or like that felt like the conference finals. That's almost what this game feels like. So that's the most exciting game for me. But like you said, it's a great weekend, and I wish both of our teams were still in there because they could have been, but it's still gonna be a great weekend.
Well, yours could have been mine.
Well,
Well,
I guess so.
I don't
Yeah,
know. I mean, if we got a better matchup, then yeah. But so for people who don't know, we both go to Quinnipiac. It's a college in Connecticut. I don't know. I mean, you probably know if you're watching us, but if you don't, we
yeah.
do. You're going back tomorrow, right? I'm assuming.
I'm going back tomorrow morning. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm doing the same. So I'm assuming we're both going back before the games start tomorrow. So before
yeah,
3 p.m. Uh, so I live on campus. Brandon lives off campus. Do they still have you do like the? Do they still require you to have a COVID test to come back?
yeah. I gotta do that probably today or tomorrow.
Yeah, I did mine yesterday, but for some reason like they couldn't email me my results. So they called me and I was like, "Oh, can you email it?" And they're like, "No." And I was like, "Oh." They're like, "We can fax it." And I was like, "I don't even know what that means. Can I pick it up then?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." So I had to drive like 15 minutes there just even though I mean, it's just a document. Like it's not I don't know, like
Yeah,
I
I don't know
like
why
there
they can't
has to be a
email
way
that.
to like I don't know, email me a screenshot from your phone. I don't care like but whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, it wasn't that big of a deal, but yeah, so that's cool. Semester starting back up. We're gonna be back in the podcast studio. Do you know much about like the new studio? Apparently, I guess they're talking about. Like, I don't know if it's gonna be outdoors or something.
Yeah, I don't know much about it. I saw something about it, but I don't know too much about it though.
Yeah, I saw a screenshot of it or like a photo of them in the process of making it. It was right outside the regular studio. For people who don't know what our regular studio looks like, probably go look at a video from about a month or two ago and you'll see it. Uh, but I guess if there is a new type of studio or something, we'll have to check it out. Maybe it's outside. If it's outside, I guess that'd be cool. If not, then whatever, I guess. But anyways, let's just get into the football. We'll start out with the first game for today. Starts at 4:30 Eastern. Bengals at Titans. I think out of the 4 matchups, it's just these are the weakest teams in most people's minds, and I would agree with that. I think if I were to rank these teams 1 through 8, I think these are my teams 7 and 8, and it's not a shot at them because they still are technically speaking the seventh and eighth best teams in the league, but it is the most underwhelming matchup. Right now, you have the spreads in front of you.
Yep.
What are they?
I have Tennessee. They have Tennessee at -4 right now.
Okay. I mean, do you want to give your feet? You want to give your analysis on this first?
Well, yeah, I would say so. Obviously, the biggest news in this game is that Henry's back. I think I saw something that said he has no snap count, so it's full go. I'd still be surprised to see. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they ride him for like 30 carries or whatever, but at some point he's going to need a break. He's going to need something. Just fatigue. He hasn't played in at least 2 months. I think it was week 9 that he got injured, so it's been a while since he's played. And again, they're going to rely on him heavy. That's their offense, but he's the biggest factor in this game. If he's a good game, the Titans probably win. If he doesn't, then the Bengals probably win. So that's going to be the most interesting thing to see. I'm also excited to see Burrow. I mean, this isn't a tough defense like the Raiders defense. It's not tough really at all, to be honest. Even though they've played well this year, you're not really scared of anyone on that defense. So I'm excited to see what he does in this one. If they were to win this game, and get to a championship game, then that would mean a lot. I mean, like we said on the last episode, he's basically a rookie. So like even though he's technically in his second year, he would have as a rookie basically brought his team to the AFC Championship game, where he'd probably lose that game, but who knows? I mean, that's super impressive. That for when our Herbert Burrow debates, obviously that would have a super edge over Herbert in that. So that will be interesting to see, but. Yeah, I like it, like you said, and it's not the most two exciting teams. It probably is the seventh and eighth best team left, but I think it's going to be a good game, similar to the Raiders Bengals game. It's going to be close, and it's probably going to come down to one possession. And like I said, if Henry is a good game, the Titans probably win, and if he doesn't, the Bengals probably win.
Who are you taking? If you had to pick somebody to win, who are you taking?
Yeah, saying that, I I think the Bengals will win, and the only thing that is kind of stopping me from saying that is just like I don't really see like the Bengals get into an AFC Championship game. It's just hard to picture that. But again, they've said their schedule worked out perfectly for them. They were the team with the most perfect schedule, where you go against the Raiders, then Titans. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better schedule in the playoffs, especially for a younger team and a team that's obviously hasn't been here, in however many years. So. I want to pick the Bengals, and I will pick the Bengals, but the only thing that's kind of hesitating for me to say that is just like can the Bengals really reach an AFC Championship game with Joe Burrow at quarterback and still a really young team? Zach Taylor is their head coach. Like he's going to reach an AFC Championship game before a lot of other coaches who are probably better than him. So that's probably the only thing that stopped me from saying that. But yeah, I think the Bengals will win this game.
I agree. I'm not. Listen, I like. I don't. I'm not confident in my picks necessarily. I think this is a. I think honestly, any four of these games could go either way. I wouldn't
Yeah,
be shocked if any particular team won and
same.
any particular combination of teams won, which is interesting because I think at least pretty much every year there's at least one divisional game where it's like, okay, this team doesn't really have a shot. Typically, I mean, there was like, maybe it's like a Chiefs Texans type of game or like a Patriots Texans or like a maybe like a low seed in the NFC kind of sneaks in and has one miraculous wild card win and doesn't really have a shot in the divisional. But I think this is it's an interesting interesting games this week. But yeah, I'm going with the Bengals as well. I think Burrow's the real deal. I mean, we talked about maybe a couple months ago about who would you rather have for the rest of their careers, Burrow or Herbert. And we talked about it even pretty recently, our list of top five quarterbacks to start a franchise with. If quarterbacks are stocks, my Joe Burrow stock is as high as it's ever been. It's only getting higher by the day, and I think it's going to continue to get higher. I think Burrow's going to win this game. I think Burrow is just a far better quarterback than Tannehill. Is he more prone to turnovers than Tannehill? Maybe. I'm not really sure, but in every other facet of the game, he's just a far superior player. Maybe Tannehill beats him out athletically, like in terms of running, maybe, but I mean, it's not like Burrow can't run the ball himself if he really wants to. So,
Yeah.
and I think the Bengals' offense is just more dynamic. Now, again, we've seen the Bengals have some lows offensively, but they've been pretty hot recently, and I have no reason to believe that Burrow won't continue that. Now, like you said, Henry is this X factor for the game. So if he just pops off, then I don't know. Maybe there's not much you can do, but I really think it's on the Bengals offense to get out to a lead to, not to deter the Titans from wanting to run the ball as much as they probably want to. The Titans could still run the ball down 14-0 or down 14-7, but when you consider the fact that Henry's already probably at least not 100% and he's rusty, when you add that with down one or two possessions, you're deterring the Titans from wanting to run the ball every down. And if you're playing a 7-7 game or whatever, a defensive battle, then I think that plays into the Titans' hands. If you can get into an explosive game that requires, the ex quarterback, either Burrow or Tannehill, has to make the throw to win the game, I think that favors the Bengals heavily. But if the Bengals get off to a slow start and it's a close defensive kind of just grit game, I think that favors the Titans, and I think that favors Vrabel's coaching over Taylor significantly. But I do think the Bengals win this game, and I think the Titans will go into the offseason with questions about Tannehill. Not everything kind of worked out for you, but I know Henry was injured, but you're the one seed, you get a bye, you probably get the worst or the second worst team in the playoffs to play against in the divisional round, and you lose to essentially a rookie quarterback. He's only had 20 starts pretty much in the NFL, so
Yeah.
you lose to a team that's best player is probably 20 games into his career, and his second best player is probably 16 games into their career. So I don't know. That's when you kind of have questions about the way your team is built offensively, especially Tannehill. So I like the Bengals.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see who gets first possession. Because like you said, if the Bengals go down, let's say they get the ball first, whatever, if they defer, whatever it is, like if the Titans defer, they get down, go get a touchdown, then that already puts the pressure on the Titans because you can still run the ball. Obviously, it's the first quarter you're only down 7, but if you don't score there, you punt, and even if they just they just keep flipping field possession, and maybe they're just putting field goals together, maybe not touchdowns, but you're down, now 10 points, 13 points, you're still down 2 possessions, and maybe it's a late second quarter, third quarter, like then you really have to start amping up your offense, and are you really going to trust Tannehill? I mean, last year he had a really good year, but this year 21 touchdowns, 14 picks, not a great year from him. I still really don't even understand how they got the number 1 seed without Henry. It was still kind of crazy, but I think their defense stepped up and their schedule kind of was very favorable. But it's when it comes down to the playoffs, it's about the quarterbacks. Like that's honestly the biggest thing I'm looking at is off the two teams, just compare the quarterbacks and whoever's better. That team's most likely going to win. Now, not all the time. Obviously, your defense could be really bad, or you have a guy like Derrick Henry. But most of the time, if you look at the quarterbacks, and in this one, obviously, Burrow is the better quarterback. And if you look at all matchups, I mean, they're all kind of similar. Now, Niners, Packers, obviously Rodgers is better, but it's not like Garoppolo's terrible. He's brought a team to a Super Bowl. He's been pretty good in playoff appearances in the past, so it's not like he's terrible. Obviously, Rams, Bucks, Brady's better, but it's not like Stafford's bad. Obviously, then Mahomes, Allen. A lot of people are saying that they're on equal terms right now. So, and even if they're not, Allen's only this much behind them. So, this is the matchup where the quarterback differential is the biggest, in my opinion. So, I think that's going to be the biggest factor, unless Henry goes for 170 with 2 touchdowns, which I think in his postseason career he's averaging 115 yards per game in the playoffs. So it's possible, obviously,
You
but again, him missing all that time, I'm skeptical about that.
you think the quarterback gap between Tannehill and Burrow is bigger than the quarterback gap between Rodgers and Garoppolo?
Well, I think in terms of just the two, like just them individually, I think obviously Rodgers is. I would still say Mahomes is, but Rodgers is probably the second best quarterback, maybe third, whether Brady or whatever. But at least Garoppolo has proven to me that he can at least work an offense. Obviously, they're going to rely on the running game. I mean, that's no. I'm not saying Garoppolo's going to come out, throw the ball 40, 50 times, and have a monster day. But at least I know that he's brought a team to a Super Bowl. He's at least a capable starting quarterback, and he can make throws. He's going to miss some, but at least I have a more faith in him than Tannehill. And like you said, Burrow. Like he's not like he's top 5 right now, but he clearly has that talent and potential that he's already shown. So I'm kind of going more off just individually. And Tannehill, and I know you would agree. Like if you're asking him to win a game for you with his arm, like it's just not going to happen. At least Garoppolo, there's a little bit of a chance. Like I know it probably still won't happen with Garoppolo, but there's a little bit more of a chance that he can lead me on an 80-yard drive. While Tannehill, there's no chance. With 2 minutes left and I need a touchdown, like he's not getting me that touchdown.
I would agree. I mean, I agree. I think the quarterback gap between Burrow and Tannehill is bigger than the quarterback gap between Rodgers and Garoppolo, but that's probably because I'm slightly lower on Rodgers than most, slightly higher on Garoppolo than most, and then slightly lower on Tannehill than most, and slightly higher on Burrow than most. So, but we were talking about the Titans' schedule, and you said you were shocked how they got the 1 seed. You're not shocked, but like surprised that they even still managed to. And you look at their schedule. I mean, I feel like their schedule's not easy. It's actually a pretty difficult schedule, but I mean, they caught a lot of teams at the right time, as well as they beat teams they should have beat, except for a couple exceptions like the Jets. But I mean, you get one of your Colts matchups was during when the Colts just didn't have it together, which at the very beginning of the season. You get the Bills and the Chiefs pretty early in the season, and then they weren't as hot as they are now, obviously. So you get both of those guys at the beginning of the season. You get the Rams pretty early on before Thanksgiving, where they kind of were in their little slump. So I think that helps a lot. But they also do have
and
some
more
pretty,
so,
pretty good wins. So
more so after Henry gets injured. That was after that Colts game, October 31st. They go Rams, like you said. That's when the Rams were in their slump. Then they play the Saints when they were that's when they were just had no clue what they were doing offensively. They lose to the Texans. I mean, that's a terrible loss. They get killed by the Patriots, but then they beat the Jaguars. They lose to the Steelers in a terrible game. The Niners game, I think they got lucky to win that game. I think the Niners blew that game. They crushed the Dolphins. That's, the Dolphins, they won 7 straight, but again, no one took that seriously. And then they beat the Texans barely the last game of the season. So like they caught teams at the right time, and they also, again, a lot of those games towards the end of the season were pretty easy games. Even the Steelers game that they lost, like that's not a good team that you played, and you should have won that game considering that you're 12-5 in the 1 seed in the AFC. But yeah, I mean it still is surprising that they were the 1 seed though for sure.
Yeah, I mean, had they played the Chiefs, you know,
Yeah.
not week whatever, then I think the Chiefs probably have that tiebreaker. Slash, the Chiefs are what 13-4, and then the Titans are 11-6 instead of being 12-5. But
Yeah.
anyways, yeah. So we're both going to the Bengals for this game, which I mean they're the underdog, but so we'll move on to the second game for Saturday. Niners at Packers. I'm actually curious to see who you're taking. So what's this first off?
Well,
What's the spread, and second off, who are you taking?
yeah, so the spread is 5.5 Green Bay. And if we were going to go off spreads, I would probably pick the Niners. But for the game, since we're just picking the game, I think I'm going to go Packers here. I think it's going to be a close game for sure. They played earlier this year. The Packers won with 37 seconds left on the clock. Rodgers drove them down for a field goal. Different teams from that. I think that was week 3. So obviously different teams. But the biggest factor is going to be the Niners' run game. If they could run the ball like they did against Dallas, or just like what they've been doing the last, however many weeks, they're I think they're 8-2 in their last 10 games. So obviously they're playing good football, and that's because they're running the ball. So if they can get the run game working, if Debo can, again, he's the biggest factor in this game. At least for the Niners, I guess you could say Adams, but he's the biggest weapon, I would say, because of the ability to run the ball and catch the ball. But if they can run the ball, it's going to be tough because you're milking clock, you're taking away possessions from Rodgers, you're most likely getting points, or if anything, flipping field position. So you're forcing them to go on long drives. Now, if Rodgers could obviously do that, but it just takes up so much clock every single time. And if you can only get a field goal, it's only 3 points, and maybe you wasted 7 minutes trying to get those 3 points. So if they can get the run game going, they for sure have a chance. But I still have faith in Rodgers. Like I said, this is in my opinion, the second biggest differential in quarterbacks with Rodgers and Garoppolo. And Rodgers, I think I saw a stat that said he hasn't thrown an interception since week 10. Now, obviously, he doesn't throw interceptions. We know that. But if he can just stay away from turnovers like he usually does, just plays a clean game. Like I just don't see how they're not putting up points at least. And if they get a lead towards the end of the game, like I said, are you going to trust? Like I trust him more than Tannehill, but it's not. I'm not saying I trust him with my life to go down and get a touchdown with the game on the line, as we saw against Dallas. I mean, the second half they scored 3 points, they scored 7 because of interception, but they really only scored three, like 3 points or whatever. So they don't really have that much of an offense if they're not running the balls. So I kind of have that's why I'm leaning towards Packers, but based on spread, I would for sure go Niners because it's gonna be a one possession game for sure.
I don't know about for sure, but yeah, I would go Niners with the spread as well. Straight up, I'm taking the Niners. This is my upset pick. I'm not going to say if there's more upset picks, but this is an upset pick for me. Obviously, I believe this is the biggest spread of the week. You have to
It
double check that.
is.
So this is the
It
biggest
is.
spread. I think my gut slash my like future telling instincts finds it hard to believe that the headlines on Monday are really going to be Aaron Rodgers falls to Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers, the quarterback who essentially tried to lose last week's playoff game. But when I look at a team that's going to win a Super Bowl, and this doesn't necessarily matter for this particular game, but it matters for the playoffs itself. I feel like almost every team that wins a Super Bowl has to face some sort of adversity throughout the year. I just think that's what builds character in a team, and especially as a Patriots fan, it's almost like it correlates super well. The teams that face adversity happen to win Super Bowls. I mean, 2018 a bunch of adversity, but the team in 2014 they started out 2-2, had that Kansas City game where they got blown out. Pretty much every team faced adversity except for maybe 2004, but I mean that's so far long ago that they could have faced adversity that I just don't really know about. But the teams that didn't face adversity, 2007, 2010, they end up kind of flaking out, and a lot of it, comes down to they just didn't really build that team chemistry. And I think 2007 is a really big example of that, where had they faced more adversity in the regular season, I think they win that Super Bowl. But anyways, where I'm going with this is I'm just not sure the Packers have really faced much adversity this year. Um, if you look at their losses, they really have only had 2 losses the whole year because they went 13-4, but they lost the last game of the regular season to the Lions, which, I mean, obviously they didn't play anybody really for that game. And then their other loss that I'm not really counting is the loss against the Chiefs where Aaron Rodgers didn't play. They lose to the Chiefs 13-7. That game really has no, semblance to this real Packers team. So they're only 2 losses. And I don't even know if you want to count this one either, but it's week 1 to the Saints where they lose 38-3, which I don't think really, I don't think that means anything. And then they lost to the Vikings, which I think you could count as a real loss if you want to. But essentially, what I'm thinking is this team just hasn't really faced the adversity that a lot of these other teams have faced. I mean, when we look at the past, 3 or 4 Super Bowl winners, I feel like all of them had faced adversity, whether it's beginning of the season, middle of the season, later into the season, or in the playoffs with injuries or having to overcome some sort of hump that kind of brings the team together. I just don't feel any character from this team, and it's more of an intangible thing. But when you add that with the fact that they have Aaron Rodgers, who is, he may be the most talented, at least arm-wise, quarterback in NFL history, but he's also probably the biggest diva of a quarterback in NFL history. And when you combine this team that just doesn't have much character with Aaron Rodgers, who's a bit of a diva, I don't know. I don't have a good feeling about this Packers team, and I'm not sure what I've seen from them that leads me to believe that they're going to go from the team that's lost like 4 straight conference championships to the team that's going to suddenly now win the Super Bowl. The only really thing I could see being a factor is that there's just not a Buccaneers this year. But I mean, I don't know. That Buccaneers team, while it was really good last year, was not some sort of regular season you know, they didn't demolish the regular season like, some other dominant teams have in the past years. So I don't know. I don't love this Packers team. I'm picking the 49ers to win. I'm probably slightly biased, and I'm rooting for the 49ers, by the way, because I like Jimmy G. I don't love Kyle Shanahan, but I like the 49ers, and I like them more than the Packers. So is it maybe slightly biased? I don't know, but I'm going with the 49ers.
Well, with saying that, that means the Niners will get to the NFC Championship game, and who knows after that. But with them getting to an NFC Championship game, do you think at that point, at what point do you think Jimmy G's job would be not safe, but do you think he could come back next year as a Niners quarterback if he were to reach the championship game, or do you think he wouldn't come back no matter even what he does this year, even if he wins this game, even if he wins a championship game, whatever he does this year, or does he not come back, or is there a chance he can come back based on if he could win this game?
As long as Jimmy G's this year was decent, which it is for sure, it's already guaranteed to be decent, then I think it's completely dependent upon Trey Lance's development. And that's something we just, unless you're a local reporter or you have the insides, you're a Schefter, or you actually work for the organization, I just don't think people are going to know that right now. And nobody's really going to know it until we get into like kind of training camp area. Jimmy G could win the Super Bowl this year, or he could lose the Super Bowl. He could lose an NFC championship. He could win the NFC championship. He could whatever. I think it's completely dependent upon Trey Lance's development. If they think Lance is ready to go, then even if it's a slight downgrade from Jimmy G next year, I think they go with Lance and they try to trade Garoppolo, because I think Garoppolo gets something on the market, especially with the year he's had this year. Listen, is he the best quarterback in the divisional round right now? No, but he's clearly capable of getting you somewhere. He's capable of getting you to a Super Bowl. Is he capable of winning it? I don't know. But he's proven he's at least capable of getting you to a Super Bowl if you're a quarterback away. So I think that means something. And if Lance is ready to go, I think they trade Garoppolo. If he's not ready to go, then I think you keep Garoppolo for another year. And I don't think there's a problem with keeping Garoppolo for another year. If I was his 49ers team, and I don't know Lance's development, but if he made me guess what's going to happen, I think they're going to keep Garoppolo for another year, because I just don't see Lance being ready from what we've seen in the regular season. But I don't know. Who knows? I mean, he's a guy that really didn't have that Alabama/Georgia, Ohio State type, workout regimen, or, just a development staff that, North Dakota State just doesn't have the development staff that those colleges have, which to me means that he's going to, he's probably developing more under the Niners than, Mac Jones is under the Patriots or Trevor Lawrence is under the Jaguars. So it's more of an unknown, but my gut tells me Garoppolo's back next year, and I don't think it really matters how he plays. I think it's dependent upon Lance. So
Yeah, same. I think Lance. Now, clearly this year he just wasn't ready because Shanahan didn't even want to play him. Honestly, he only had to because Garoppolo got injured. But like again, you have a full off season to get ready, and I assume he would. Like you said, North Dakota State. One, you're not playing good opponents. And two, like yeah, like they're not Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, whatever. Where like you're basically in a pro system and you're doing almost everything that pros do at North Dakota State. You're just not. Like that's just the reality of it. So yeah, I think this year is basically like his senior year of college almost like we're at like a pro system, and then next year you would assume he'd be ready, but like if he's not, then yeah, like you have to bring Garoppolo back because if he's not ready, then you have somewhat of a Super Bowl team, like at least a a contender of a team, and there's not another quarterback out there that realistically that you could grab. I like Rodgers, like he may even stay. I think he's gonna leave, but like I don't think he'd go to the Niners. Like Wilson, like he wouldn't go to the Niners, obviously in division. So like you wouldn't get one of those guys, and then obviously you're not gonna take like a Teddy Bridgewater, Ryan Fitzpatrick, or whatever. So yeah, I think they would if he's not ready. I agree with that. But if he's not ready, then that's an indictment on Shanahan because that was all his move to go get Lance. And if he can't start for you in year two, then that says a lot because then you're looking at like if he's not ready in year three, or even if he is and he doesn't play well, then we just wasted all that for what? Because we still had Garoppolo, we still had a guy who brought us to a Super Bowl and can bring us to the playoffs and win at least a game or two. So that would mean a lot on Shanahan. I'd like to see what would happen. Because I think he is a good coach. Is he a great coach? I don't think he's a great coach, but I think he's a really good coach. But to trade all those picks and everything just to get a quarterback who couldn't maybe won't even start in 2 years. Like that's pretty ridiculous. That's asking a lot from the front office as well. But we'll see. Like I said, I have the Packers. You have the Niners. Um, and just to answer, you were talking about can this Packers team win a Super Bowl? You don't think so? I don't know if they can either. I think the NFC is more open than last year, and I know what you were saying about the Bucks last year. They weren't amazing in the regular season, but when it came to the playoffs, that's when they put it all together. The defense was great, and then Brady did what he had to do in key situations. I mean, it wasn't great in the championship game last year. He threw 4 picks, but which can also say is telling of Rodgers that you couldn't win that game when Brady throws 4 picks.
By the
But
way, by the way,
yeah,
he's now had two NFC championship games where the opposing quarterback has thrown 4 interceptions and he's lost both. I'm
yeah.
not saying
So I
it's all
mean,
his fault because it's not, but in
no, and if
general,
yeah,
that
and
can't
if you look
happen.
at his defenses, to be fair to Rodgers, if you look at his defenses in the playoffs, I don't know what the exact number is, but I know there's at least like 7 or 8 games where they've given up like 35 plus or at least 30 plus. Like it is hard to win playoff games when you have to at least score 30 points to maybe win the game. So I'll give him credit, not credit for that, but at least give him some slack for that. But still, like when Tom Brady throws 4 interceptions in a championship game on the road, and you can't win that game. And they were all in the second half, I think. Maybe one was in the first half, but that is pretty embarrassing to be honest. And he's lost 3 straight playoff games to the Niners, 2 to Kaepernick, and then obviously 2 years ago in the championship game against Garoppolo. So we'll see. Like I said, I think the Packers will win this game. Do I think they'll win the Super Bowl? No. Maybe tip my hand, but I do think they win this game though. So you have Niners, I have Packers. We'll move to Sunday. What is this 3 o'clock game? Rams at Bucks. It kind of sucks this game isn't at night. I feel like this would be a really good night game, but I think the better game is at night though, the Bills Chiefs game. But the line, just to say the line quickly, Tampa -3. So do you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, sure. I'll take this game first. I'm going. So, okay, this is a game I have no idea because you got 2 tackles out for both teams, or 1 tackle out for both teams, 2 combined. Wirfs is questionable right now. I believe he's going to
Yeah.
play, but
And if he plays, I mean, like how impactful even is
I,
he to be
I, I
honest?
think I think if you asked, the guys that have been close to Wirfs this week, if you told them you're going to get a 70% Tristan Wirfs this week, I think they would probably take that, which means realistically, I
Yeah.
think we get a 50 to 60% good to go Wirfs. Now, maybe that's slightly better than having no Andrew Whitworth, but I mean, Wirfs is just a better player than Whitworth, and Whitworth's stage of his career, he's like 40, so
Yeah.
and Wirfs is like entering his prime pretty much, if not maybe already even in it. I don't know, but I think that's a bigger blow for Tampa than it is for Los Angeles, especially when you just consider the pieces that LA has in that D line. I mean, Donald, Miller, I'm really scared if I'm a Bucks fan, and I guess I'm kind of a Bucks fan, but not really. I mean, I'm scared because the last time that I legitimately played Von Miller in the playoffs, he he destroyed me. I guess this isn't the Bucks, this is Brady, but Miller like won that game in the AFC Championship. I mean, he just destroyed, and he pretty much just carried the Broncos to that Super Bowl. He was the most valuable player, which is just impossible to do nowadays if you're not a quarterback to be the most valuable player, and he was. So I'm scared. Donald is a guy that you're just not going to be able to stop. He's going to get his plays, and there's really, to me and my experience in the NFL, there's never been a defensive tackle or really even a defensive end that, like, regardless of how much attention you put to him, is just going to get his plays. Even a guy like J.J. Watt, if you have the right game plan for him, I've seen him be just taken out of games. I've really just never seen Aaron Donald be taken out of a game. So I'd be worried if I'm the Bucks. I'd also be worried if I'm the Rams, though, because the gap in quarterbacks is artless, and I think this is the third biggest slash the second least big gap. But
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue that it's, I don't know. I mean, you could argue it's close to the gap between a Burrow and a Tannehill slash a Garoppolo and a Rodgers, because Stafford has just never been in this situation. He just won his first playoff game of his career last week. And, it was a good win, but it's also against a Cardinals team that just didn't look good down the stretch. And I think in hindsight, just clearly was not ready for that game. Too many injuries, and no Hopkins really just hurt that offense. Kyler Murray already, looked just not great in that game, and to not have your number one receiver for the latter half of the season, that team was just not ready. So I think this is a big test for Stafford. I would be worried if I'm a Rams fan, just because it's Brady, who has like more playoff wins than like pretty much almost every other franchise in the league. He definitely has more playoff wins than the Rams, I'm pretty sure, at least. So I'd be worried if I'm a Rams fan that Stafford just can't compete with Brady if this game gets into more of a shootout type of game, even though, Kupp is the best receiver on the field, or, on both teams. But I don't know. I could really go either way with this game. I could see the Rams defense just putting on a show. I could see Brady just having no time to throw the ball, and he's got to dink and dunk his way down the field, and eventually Stafford comes up with a couple big throws. Even though I don't think Stafford's going to have a great game, Stafford just makes a couple more throws than Brady, and the Rams end up pulling out a late victory. But I could see the Buccaneers winning this game as well. I mean, I could just see Stafford just pooping his pants, and I could see Brady having not a great day, but a good enough day to get it done. And, Wirfs plays good enough, and they advance to the NFC Championship game. I'm going to go with the Buccaneers because I just can't bet against Brady. I can't. I don't know. I've tried to in my life. I was so against that 2018 Patriots team. I did not think they were going anywhere, and they ended up winning that Super Bowl. But I don't know. My head's almost telling me to go with the Rams. My gut is kind of telling me to go with the Rams too. So I guess I'm kind of copping out here because I'm saying that my head and my gut tells me to go with the Rams, but because Brady is just so impossible to bet against, I'm going with the Bucks. So I'm going with the Bucks. But if the Rams win, I guess, I should have trusted my gut and my brain, but I'm not. So
Yeah, okay. So, well, first off, Tom Brady has 12 more wins than the Rams. Just I looked that up quickly. He's 12 more. But I'll just say it. I'm going with the Rams. And there's two things that are kind of again, like, that I'm not totally confident in this pick is one, betting against Brady. I think I've like thought about it, or at least like wanted whatever team that he was playing to win, whether it was a Super Bowl or whatever, playoff game or whatever, and and then it's just like, wait, why am I going against Brady? And then at the end of the game, like, it's Brady's team that was winning. So that is one thing that's, again, like, giving me some pause right there. But at the same time, I feel like both these teams are trending in the other direction, where the Bucks, they just have so many injuries. Like, again, Fournette is not going to play this game. Obviously, no Godwin, no Brown. Jensen, he also was injured as well last week. Wirfs is more injured. I think Jensen's going to be like at least closer to 100%, but like, he's still injured as well. And again, he's going against Donald. Like, that's the matchup, him against Donald. So if Donald already is going to overpower him anyways, now if he's going to be a little bit hobbled or injured, like, the advantage clearly goes to the Rams, at least on in Donald against him. Now Wirfs also like going against Levon Miller and Leonard Floyd, like those are obviously two above pass rushers right there. So if Wirfs, even if you play the whole game, like he's for sure going to be hobbling around. Like there's just no doubt in my mind. I don't even know why he came back into that game last week. They were up, three possessions the entire game. I don't even know why they let him back in that game because he injured it more when he came back in. So that was, I think, really dumb on
Well,
their part.
I mean, listen, Antonio Brown might be right. I mean, there's no reason for Wirfs to go back in
Maybe.
that game, but I mean, you remember how Arians, or according to AB, Arians like almost forced AB to get back into that game even with the
Yeah.
injury. I mean, listen, if AB is right, then it's pretty likely that Arians did the same thing to Wirfs. And this is something we're going to talk about in the offseason because of the reality of it is there's just not time to talk about it now with the playoffs and everything. But I mean, my gut instinct is this is if the Bucks lose this game, even if they win this game, I think this is Arians' last ride with the Buccaneers. I think Arians is gone after this year, no matter what. Even if they win the Super Bowl, maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. I think Arians is gone. So yeah,
Yeah,
but
I don't know. I don't know. I have to think
I'd be
about
I
that.
listen.
But
I don't know if you've ever watched Undisputed. I mean, I'm sure everybody's watched Undisputed, even though I don't love it. But you know how they do the Mountain Dew, Diet
yeah,
Mountain Dew.
I
Maybe
do
we
watch
need some.
Undisputed.
Maybe we. I don't know. I mean, I don't like diet drinks, but we need something because I like if there was something I could bet on that, I would be willing to bet it. Like because I think I'm confident Arians is gone.
Um, well, I'll say something about that after. I have one more thing to say about the Rams. Then I think I'll actually have something to say about that. More so about Brady, honestly. But the other thing that again, the Rams, I think, in my opinion, are trending up, Bucks down, only because again injuries and also Cam Akers coming back. I mean, he was great in that game last week against the Cardinals. Him, and Michelle, like that's a pretty good one too. Now I know like you don't have great thoughts about Michelle because of what he was with the Patriots, but since he's gone to the Rams, he's been pretty good. I mean, he had 850 yards. Now with Akers back, who's the better running back, and again, he somehow is back from a torn Achilles. That literally makes zero sense. But like if they can get the ball on the ground working, it doesn't have to be 150 yards, but if you can just get solid positive yards, so to the point where because I think the Rams are always the best in play action. Like I think that's always McVay's thing is play action and motion. So if you're gonna be able to have the run game working and then Stafford moving around in play action with Cup and Odell and Van Jefferson, like I think that opens up their offense 1,000 times more than when they can't run the ball, which has kind of been the case all season long, kind of, because they've been relying a lot on the pass. So if they can get the running game working, and again, doesn't have to be amazing, but just good enough, then I think that their offense is going to be wide open. Doesn't mean Cup has to have a monster day. That means Odell could have a good game. Van Jefferson, Tyler Higbee as well. So like even if Cup doesn't have a monster game, I think they could still be really well in the passing game. So like I said, for those reasons of just like it seems like the Rams are just like everything's going well for them. They're healthy. I don't think they have. I think they're missing again. Whitworth is not playing. And I think Taylor Rapp, their safety, isn't playing. But we'll see about Whitworth. But I think the rest of their offensive line's fine, and everyone else is fine as well. So because like they're more healthy than the Bucks are, and again that was the big thing for the Bucks last year was that they were the healthiest team. Literally, no one on their team was injured last year. While this year, like they have a lot of injuries. So I think for those reasons, I'm going to go with the Rams. But again, betting against Brady is just usually never the right option. So I won't be surprised if the Bucks win. Again, they're probably the better team to be honest. But just with the way things are going the last couple weeks and just everything that's happened, all the drama and turmoil with the Bucks. I mean, that's a lot of stuff that's behind the scenes that we probably don't even know what's going on. It just seems like the Rams will win this game, but like you said, it's all on Stafford. If Stafford's gonna have a good game, they're gonna win. But if he goes, two interceptions, one, at his 25-yard line, like they remember that Vikings game a couple weeks ago, like just some inexplicable interceptions that he was throwing. Like if he does that, then for sure the Bucks will probably win. But I'm going to assume that they're going to keep Stafford pretty minimal, and I'm going to assume that he's a good game and that they're going to win this game.
So, couple things really quick before you talk about your Brady thing you wanted to say with the Arians thing.
Yeah.
I think the Akers thing is big, but at the same time, I just don't think you're going to run to set up the pass against the Buccaneers. Their run defense is to me just too stout, and I don't know. If the Eagles can't get the run going when that's the really only option, I'm just not sure that the Rams can really run to set up the pass. I think they can pass to set up the run, though. I mean, if Stafford gets out to a hot start, Cooper Kupp gets open, OBJ gets a nice touchdown or something, then I think you can actually, run the ball because the pass has set up the ability to run. If the Buccaneers have to change their defense and get lighter on the defense, then I think that sets up for Akers to have a nice day and Michelle to have a nice day. But if I'm the Rams, I'm not trying to run to set up the pass. I'm trying to pass to set up the run. But everything else you said, I agree with. So
one thing about that is that the Bucs. I mean, we do think them having a really good run defense, and again, maybe some of these numbers are inflated or whatever because of whatever reason. But they did give up 4.4 yards per carry and 1,500 yards. Now the yards isn't the most in the league. There's obviously some teams that are terrible at that. And again, it has to do with you having a lead versus not having a lead. Obviously, if you have a lead, the other team's going to be throwing the ball more. But the run defense isn't as good as it was last year, to be fair. Now, it's still pretty good, but it's not as good as it was last year. So I do think the Rams can run the ball. And like I said, when the run comes first for that team, their offense is better. It's still a good offense when they can't run the ball, but like when they could run the ball with Michelle and Akers and just, again, play action and bootlegs and just motion on that offense is exactly what McVay wants because it also sets up the long passes as well. Then I think that's when they could really be explosive, like even more explosive, and I think that's what's going to work against the Bucs. But again, we'll have to see what happens. I mean, if they win in the trenches early, or if the Rams are down, then for sure they'll be passing most of the game. But I think it's all about the start of this game and whoever comes out with a lead early, or as long as it's just it's 10-7, 17-14, 21-20, whatever it is.
Yeah, my thing is more so just. I'm not going to say the Bucs run defense is dominant by any means, but we saw last week if you can't keep the Buccaneers defense honest, and your running game is what you're going to by default, I just don't think you're going to win the game. However, if Stafford can get out to a good start, Kupp can get open even in double coverage, and Odell can capitalize on being a good number 2 receiver, then yeah, I think if the Bucs defense has to get lighter, then that opens up the running game. I'm not sure that you're going to be able to on your opening drive just run the ball down their throats. I think you want to try to get Stafford hot out the gate, and I think if Stafford's hot and the passing game is hot, I think that sets up the running game. But anyways, I want to hear what you have to say about the Brady and Arians thing.
Yeah, so it's something I've heard the last couple of days. I don't know if you heard it as well. Now I don't know if it's true or what, but just been rumblings of it. Let's say the Bucs lose this game, or even like if they win this game, whatever. Like they just whatever happens at the end of this season. Let's say it just doesn't end with the Super Bowl. Do you think there's a possibility? Now, obviously there is, but do you think it's a real possibility that that Brady would retire?
I'll say this: if Brady does retire after this season, barring like some completely random unforeseen thing, like if he just decides to retire, like I don't know, if something crazy out of this world happens, then maybe I could see him retiring. But barring that crazy weird thing that nobody ever foresaw coming. No, I think there's no shot that he's retiring. If he retires, he has to give up 15 out of the 20 million of his signing bonus, which, again, money to him is kind of whatever, but at the same time, that's still a lot of money. And unless he's just dead set on retiring, I don't see a world in which he retires, and I still think he wants to play football, no matter what. If they lose this round, if they win the Super Bowl, whatever, I think he's back next year. And I'll say this, if he does retire, and it's, nothing crazy happens, then I'll go into the studio wearing clown makeup. I don't care. Like I'm just that's what I'll do. I mean, there's literally no shot that he retires, barring I don't even know something that I wouldn't even want to say because it would probably be bad. So barring something out of this world, there's no shot that he retires in my opinion.
I don't think he retires either. Now maybe if you were to win the Super Bowl and you leave on the highest note possible with it would be his 8th or 9th, whatever it would be. So maybe then, but even then probably not. He said he wants to play to 45. He's 44, so that would mean at least one more year. So I think it's possible that after next year he would retire. But the stuff I've been seeing is he has all of his business stuff that's he just launched a clothing brand or whatever. Obviously the TB12 stuff, like the media stuff that he does as well. There's so much other stuff off the field that he does. And then also Giselle has always wanted him to kind of retire the last 5 years anyways. all the stuff that's happened this year as well with the team, Arians, Brown, just everything in general. So I'm not saying he would, but I definitely wouldn't be surprised if he did. Now, would Tom Brady want to retire after losing in the divisional round to the Rams? Probably not. You'd probably want to leave on a high note, or at least something that's different than losing in the divisional round at home. But I definitely wouldn't be surprised if he did decide to retire. Now, again, I don't think he will, but again, in Arians, like if Brady were to come back for next year, like is Arians their head coach? I think he probably would be because like who else would you replace him with unless you're putting like Byron Leftwich a head coach or whatever. But I think that would be a question as well. I think Brady likes Arians. I don't think they have a great relationship. I think it's good enough. So I think maybe that's a question as well. It doesn't seem like you're dead set on Arians coming back either. So, but like if Brady, let's say Brady, he wouldn't announce this, but let's say like we find 2 years or whatever, we know that next year is his last year. Like would you then say that Arians would be the head coach because like who else would be the head coach there?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it really matters. I think Brady is very close to like what LeBron was in Cleveland, which is he just runs the organization. He's the de facto GM, the de facto head coach. He gets to choose what he wants and where. I think to me the reason that I am pretty dead set on Arians being gone after this year is the AB situation. I don't think it's necessarily Arians' fault, but I think Brady viewed himself as kind of taking AB under his wing and that he had the situation under control and that he blames Arians for for AB not being on the team anymore because that's just a huge shot to your chances to win the Super Bowl losing out on AB, who's probably at worst the league's best number 3 receiver and at best I don't know, like a low tier number 1 receiver, I guess. He's anywhere in between that range. And to not have that guy who could potentially be your number 1 receiver on a Super Bowl run is huge. And if Brady does believe it's Arians' fault or blames Arians, which I'm not saying is justified, but if he does believe that, whatever Brady believes is just fact at this point because, you're the Buccaneers, you're not the Packers, you're not the Steelers, you're not the Patriots, you're not the Cowboys, you're not a team that's just like the team before the player. You're the Buccaneers. You're the worst franchise of all time in all 4 major sports before Brady got here. You're gonna follow Brady. You have no choice. So if Brady wants to get rid of Arians or he's gone or he retires, then Arians is gone. And in my opinion, that's what Brady's gonna want. I think he wants Arians gone. I don't think he loves Leftwich either, but maybe it's Leftwich. Maybe it's somebody else. Maybe somehow, apparently him and McDaniels' relationship isn't as great as it used to be, but maybe McDaniels comes and maybe McDaniels coaches the Buccaneers if he really wants to. If he likes maybe Trask or if he wants to take a shot on a 3rd-round quarterback next year in the draft or this year in the draft or whatever, then I think maybe McDaniels becomes the long-term and short-term, obviously, head coach of the Buccaneers. Or maybe it's just somebody random that, Brady's developed a good relationship with. I think Arians is gone, though, after this year. And I think the AB situation has a lot to do with it.
I think Arians would only stay because, like, what would be the point of getting a new head coach when you, again, most likely think Brady would retire after next year? Like you don't have a quarterback in the waiting. Like, you're not gonna have a high draft pick as well because Brady's on the team. So, like, I don't think there's a point in having a new head coach that you would probably look for the future with. Now, there'd be no point in getting a 1-year head coach because you would just keep Arians, honestly, unless the relationship is just completely gone.
But you're ignoring the fact that Brady is the de facto GM there.
Yeah, but I think he would also just understand. Like, I don't think he would like, but I don't think a coach would want to come there for 1 year. Like let's say it's McDaniels or whatever. Like, I think he's smart enough to realize that like he wouldn't want to just be there for 1 year and then have to try and figure something out when you'd rather have a plan set. Like, Brady's not going to leave a quarterback in the waiting. We saw that with Garoppolo, so he wouldn't do that.
I think Brady is willing to have a quarterback be his understudy. I just don't think it was Garoppolo, and I don't think Brady was like ever envisioning retiring then. I think he'd be fine with it now because he does see his path to retirement, and I think he would want a guy to kind of be the next guy up to follow him out, and so he not only kind of has that good legacy of being able to teach a guy under him, but also maybe another face to the TB12 brand because Michael Jordan's is the face of the Michael Jordan brand, Jordan brand, but there have also been other guys who rep the Jordan gear. I mean, Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, Ray Allen wore Jordan. I mean, everybody in the league pretty much wears Jordan shoes, or a lot of them. So, I think if
Uh,
Brady wants to have something like that, I think that's a significant part of it, and that's why I think he'd be fine with it. Now, I'm not telling you McDaniels is going to coach there. I did say if he likes Trask or if he likes a guy in the third round, I think he would consider it. But if it's not McDaniels, there's a guy that would want to be a head coach of Brady for 1 year. There would be a guy. Now, is it going to be, your top tier coach candidate? Is it going to be, a Bieniemy or whatever? Is it going to be a Dayball? I know it's not. But if he doesn't like Arians, then I think Arians is gone. If I think he would, I think Brady at this point would prefer Leftwich to be the head coach over Arians. To me, I don't see Arians coming back. Now, I could be wrong, but I have a strong
I
feeling that Arians is gone.
I
So.
don't doubt that Arians could possibly not be there because of Brady, obviously, but I just don't think they. I think if that were to happen, then I think just Leftwich would just be the head coach because I don't think there'd be any point in like you have to go through a whole interview process. Like again, people, I don't think there'd be a head coach. Now again, obviously there'd be someone, but like someone that's actually capable and someone you really want to be your head coach, basically to be there for 1 year. Like again, you may like someone in the third round, you may like Trask, but like it's such an unknown, honestly. And again, this team is obviously meant to win now. So if you're going with a Trask or a third round quarterback, you're obviously not going to still win now. So I don't think a new up and coming head coach would want that. Maybe an old head coach, or again, Leftwich, who's obviously in the building, has been there for a couple of years, that you could just elevate to the head coaching position where he's probably going to be a head coach one day, anyways. So I think it would work out with him. I think that's the only possibility if Arians weren't to be the head coach next year. But even still, I do see Arians being the head coach unless Brady retires this year, which I don't think is going to happen. But do you have anything else about that game, I guess, or should we move to the last game?
I think we move on to the Bills Chiefs. The last game of the divisional round, Sunday, 6:30 p.m. I think it's the game that's probably the most highly anticipated. The two hottest slash two best quarterbacks in the league, arguably. You have probably the best or second best in Mahomes, and then you have the hottest in the league right now in Josh Allen, head to head. Highly anticipated match. I'm rooting for the Chiefs. I don't like the Bills. I think that kind of goes without saying. Maybe I should like the Bills because, I'm like 35-8 against them in the past 20 years, but I have lost 3 again of the last 4 against them or whatever it is. So, but I'm rooting for the Chiefs, and I do think the Chiefs win this game. I think the Bills are just being overrated right now. I think it's a little bit similar to the Patriots 7-game win streak or the Dolphins 7-game win streak or the Colts kind of win streak, although I did believe in the Colts, but I was kind of maybe a little bit wrong about them. Um, I think their win streaks are slightly overrated. People say they were a different team ever since the second half of that Tampa Bay game. I think they looked good in the second half of the Tampa Bay game, but the reality is, I can pull the Bills schedule right now. After that Tampa Bay game, I mean, you beat the Panthers 31-14. The Panthers suck. You beat the Patriots 33-21. The Patriots lost 3 out of the last 4, and then you beat the Patriots again by 30 points. So is that win a good win? I guess, but at least as a Patriots fan, the one I can think of was us beating the Chargers and thinking it was a good win. It was not a good win in hindsight. It was an average win. That's what I would say this win was. You beat the Falcons 29-15, meh, whatever, and you beat the Jets 27-10. Those wins to me are just not great wins. Now beating the Patriots in the playoffs and demolishing them and looking as good as you did, you looked good, but I honestly do think it was 70% the Patriots defense not being ready and 30% the Bills offense. Doesn't mean it's 100-0, but 70-30 I think is fair. I think the Chiefs offense is arguably just as hot as well. I mean, they put up 6 straight touchdowns against the Steelers, which to me on paper arguably have the better defense. Is it the better defense? I don't know, but I think they're pretty similar. And the Chiefs are also a pretty hot team as well. I know they lost to the Bengals that you're looking at right now on the screen, but I mean, they finished off the year pretty good. I mean, they started 2-4 or 2-5, and to finish as 12-5, I mean, you don't get much better than that. So I like the Chiefs. I think even though Allen's arguably the hotter quarterback, I still trust Mahomes way more in these types of situations. I think Allen is just way more prone to mistakes than Mahomes, even though Mahomes is still prone to mistakes. In the playoffs, Mahomes has just been, cold as ice. I don't know. So I'm going with the Chiefs. I think they're the better team. I think Mahomes is still the better quarterback. I think they probably still have the better offensive weapons. I think the head coaching gap isn't necessarily, I don't know. I mean, I think maybe the Bills have a better head coach. Maybe they don't. But I like the Chiefs here. They're at home. I think the Bills being hot thing has just been way too overblown. So I'll take the Chiefs to win the divisional round and move on to the championship.
See the difference in the one of the first things that you said between them being hot and comparing them those to a Patriots, Dolphins, Colts is that those three teams quarterbacks are not good. Now obviously like in comparison to Josh Allen. The Bills have Josh Allen. I think that's just a huge difference. You have a top five quarterback who is at the hottest streak probably of his career. Your defense, even though I'm still somewhat skeptical, like I don't think they're the number one defense in the NFL, but the stats do say that. And at times they for sure play like that. Now, will they stop Mahomes and shut him down? Probably not. But I think they can at least do something. They can at least like somewhat limit him, or at least somewhat limit this offense. I think it works both ways. The Chiefs have a really good defense as well, but. The Bills, the line, I guess we didn't say it, but the line's 1.5 Kansas City. I'm gonna go with the Bills. I I like the Chiefs, but the Bills coming off of last year's loss. This year coming into this year, I think, like I said, the defense is better than it was last year, and I think Allen is obviously better than he was last year, and he's hotter. So I think that plays into their advantage as well. I don't know if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is playing. I think he is. I could look it up right now. But even if he is, obviously that's a huge gain for the Chiefs because he is the best running back for them. He is going to play in this game, so obviously that's huge because he's going to play. He's their best running back. When he is playing, they are a better team offensively. No matter if they have Kelsey, Hill, Mahomes, whatever, they're better when Clyde Edwards-Helaire is playing. So that is an advantage, but at the same time, I think Allen can just take over a game. At this point, I think he can take over a game. Not saying Mahomes can't, because obviously Mahomes can, but Allen running the ball and passing the ball, like if he has both working or even just the running game working, like if he can escape and scramble and just make guys miss like we saw in that Patriots game, like he can take over a game with his legs. And when it gets down to the red zone, he's such a weapon. And obviously you have Diggs, you have Knox, you have Beasley, you have Gabriel Davis, Emmanuel Sanders. Like they have weapons on that offense. Their offensive line's healthy as well. So I feel like this is going to be a close game for sure. This is easily going to be the best game, or at least on paper, it's for sure going to be the best game. And hopefully it is the best game. But I just can I really see Mahomes losing this game? I don't know if I can, but I can see Allen winning this game. That's more the way I'm kind of looking at it. I think Allen can win this game, and I just think like I've been high on Allen, the last 2 years basically, and I think this is just a huge prove it game. If he loses this game, it's for sure a step not backwards, but for sure a step down. He's still a top five quarterback, still an elite quarterback, but now you've lost 2 games to Mahomes. Now that's not easy. That's for sure not easy, especially both on the road. But it doesn't look great for your legacy. Even though it's early on, but if he wins this game, like if he wins this game, who the winner of this game is winning the AFC. So whoever wins this game is going to be in the Super Bowl, in my opinion. And if he can get this team to the Super Bowl, and probably have a really good chance of winning it, to be honest, like that'd be pretty remarkable in my opinion. So yeah, like I said, I have the Bills winning this game. It's going to be close, but I think Allen's going to win this game with his legs and his arm.
I think the point you brought up about if the Bills lose this game, though, is an interesting point. I mean, realistically, the only thing that you don't have that, like, you would really like to have on your road to the Super Bowl is home field advantage. That's, like, the only thing. Obviously, yeah. Tre'Davious White is out for the year, but realistically, 9 years out of 10 years, you just don't have a fully healthy team. You're going to lose one guy. So I don't think that's like as big of an excuse as you could make it if the Bills were to lose this game. The only thing you don't have is home field, and yeah, that's big, but I think you should win this game if you're the Bills. You should. I mean, you're supposed to be the hottest team in the league. Allen just came off essentially a perfect game against your division rival, who just dominated you for 20 straight years. By the way, so yeah, I think everything points that you should win this game, and the Chiefs are probably the worst they've been in the past 3 years, at least. I don't know that they're the worst they've been the past 3 years, but they're probably not as hot as they've been the past 3 years, or as big of a story at least. So you should win it, but I don't know. I still believe that Mahomes is the better quarterback, and I do think the Tre'Davious White injury is a big injury, and it hasn't really been brought up that much. And I think the reason it hasn't been brought up that much is just because they haven't really played a team that could expose that. I mean, I already brought up the Bills' schedule, but those last 4 teams they played, Falcons, Falcons, Patriots, Panthers, and Jets, they're not exploiting the fact that you don't have Tre'Davious White. The Chiefs, I think, can 100% exploit that. I mean, Tre'Davious White is arguably, probably was your best defensive player. I mean, if it's not him, then maybe it's Hyde, but I would say it's probably Tre'Davious White. And to not have him against this type of offense, I think could come back to bite you. And I think it probably will. I think we'll see that. I don't know that this Bills defense is the best pass defense in the league, like the stats may suggest, especially with no Tre'Davious White. The Patriots were also, in the DVOA category where I think either 1 or 2 with the Bills. And obviously we came to see that that's just, the Patriots defense was not all that. When we saw a team that was able to expose the Patriots defense, we saw that play out. We haven't seen a team that can exploit the Bills defense yet. We really just haven't. I mean, the teams I listed in the Patriots just aren't that type of team. I think the Chiefs are that type of team. I think it's a close game. Like, I know I'm kind of riding the Chiefs here, but I do think it's a close game. I just can't see Mahomes losing this game. I really can't. And I know I said I wasn't confident in these picks, and I'm still not. Like, I could see the Chiefs winning this game, but it's so tough. I can't bet against Mahomes, so I'm going with the Chiefs to win this game. I think it's close, but Mahomes is, to me, I mean, if we're not counting Brady, and we're only counting the kind of new guys that we've actually been like able to see from the rookie year and on, so not Brady, not Manning, not Breeze, not Rivers, not Eli, not Ben. I mean, Mahomes is, in my opinion, just by far the best quarterback I've ever seen, like, as a rookie and on. Allen's looked good in times, and Herbert's looked awesome, and Burrow's looked awesome, and Kyler's looks great, but I don't know. To me, nothing is compared to Mahomes' start of his career. I mean, you could argue that, I know this isn't relevant for this game necessarily, but nobody's had a better start to their career in NFL history than Mahomes. Maybe other than Brady, but I don't know. I mean, you could argue Mahomes has had the better start to his career than Brady. So,
Yeah, no, I mean that's why I'm picking the Bills to win because I think Allen's going to win the game, and I think Mahomes is probably going to have a great game. And I think if it goes either way, if the Chiefs won, it'd be because Mahomes won the game for them. But I just think that like I just think Allen. Not saying Allen's going to overtake Mahomes is for sure. Oh, I think he's always going to be the best quarterback in the league. For the next at least 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, whatever it is going to be. Like it would have to be rather a Burrow, Herbert, Allen who would overtake him, and I still don't even really see that happening, to be honest. So I think it would still be Mahomes, especially when you have Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. Maybe it changes in the next 5 years when those guys aren't there, and their team probably is still really good, but maybe not as you don't have all pros all around you. So maybe it's different, but he'd still probably be the best quarterback, but. I just think Allen is just going to win this game, and I think it's honestly going to be high scoring. Now, both defenses give up about 17 points per game. The Chiefs is 21, but if you take away those first 4 weeks of the season, it's been I think 14 points per game since then or something like that. So it's basically around 17 points per game, 18 points per game, and they both average 28. So I think it's going to be high scoring. I think even though defenses win championships, when you have these level of quarterbacks and these level of offenses, offense is what is going to prevail. So I think it's going to be high 20s, maybe even low 30s, to be honest. And like I said, I think Allen's just going to have a monster day. Now, I think whichever quarterback makes the interception, obviously is going to be the turning point. And I know Allen does make mistakes, and he's not super accurate. He's still accurate. He's around 64, 65%, which isn't terrible, to be honest. But Mahomes definitely has that interception-prone ability. Now, he's limited these last, 8 weeks. The first 7, 8 weeks, it was terrible. But he definitely has the ability just to chuck one up there. And, again, if you force him to just, dink it and just throw it to, the running backs or the flat or whatever, he's not as good as when he's throwing deep. But when he throws deep, that's when he's more prone to interceptions and mistakes. So it's which one do you want if you're the defense? So let him go down the field methodically, or go down the field with one big play, but it could also turn into an interception. So it's definitely a back and forth there. And I guess we'll see what happens on Sunday.
I mean, the thing I've always been kind of skeptical about the Chiefs, specifically Mahomes and Andy Reid, is the ability to take the dink and dunk. If I'm a defense, I question their ability to, just play 60-minute football where you're just consistently taking that, that running back check down and that flat and that that drag route. Because I mean, we've just seen it. I mean, when you have an arm talent like Mahomes and you have an offensive genius like Andy Reid, they can't really help themselves but drop a couple plays down the field, even if the defense is literally just letting you take that 3 to 4 to 5 yard running back check down every single play. So I think that's something to be kind of afraid of, but I think you could say the same thing about the Bills. And when you have an arm like Josh Allen, and you've been as hot as you've been, you almost kind of forget about the fact that you can throw an interception. So and you kind of forget about the fact that, hey, I should just be taking this 5 yard running back check down every single play. There's no reason for me to chuck it up down the field to Stephon Diggs, even if it's a good one-on-one cover. If it's a one-on-one, even if it is a one-on-one, what's the point in that 50-50 ball? Even if Stephon Diggs comes down with that ball 70% of the time, I'll take the 5 yard running back check down. And I do kind of get scared that sometimes these quarterbacks won't take that, whereas specifically a Brady and, Manning's not in the league, but a Manning would take that every single down. These guys really don't love to. But, yeah, I'm taking the Chiefs. You're taking the Bills. We'll see what happens. We actually have a decent amount of disagreement this week. I feel like typically we are on the same page, but we're both taking the Bengals. But other than that, I mean, I'm taking Niners, you're taking Packers. I'm taking Bucks, you're taking Rams. I'm taking Chiefs, you're taking Bills.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. That would be. I'm interested to see. Like I said, I think all these games are going to be close. Even the Niners-Packers game, I think, obviously that's going to be a close game, even though I'm picking Packers. I mean, it's going to be a close game. Rams-Bucks for sure going to be a close game. And then obviously Bills-Chiefs. I'm just hoping that the games live up to what I'm expecting them to live up. Now, obviously, usually one probably isn't going to. Hopefully that's just the Bengals-Titans game because, I'm already not super excited for that game anyways. So if that's the one that lets me down, I'm okay with it. But I think the other games are going to be really good games. And there's not supposed to be any snow anywhere, even Chiefs, even Packers. It's just supposed to be cold. So no snow games, which I think you always look forward to a snow game or something in a playoff game. So none of that, but it's for sure going to be cold in Green Bay and in Kansas City, though.
I think I'm happy there's no snow this week. Maybe, I don't know. It doesn't really matter, but I don't know that I wanted to see snow on Bills Chiefs. Maybe even Niners Packers. Yeah, I'd be fine with that. But Bills Chiefs, this should theoretically be similar to that kind of 2018 Rams Chiefs regular season game where it is just it's just an offensive shootout from literally the first drive of the game.
Yeah.
I would love to see that, and obviously the snow is just not really conducive to that type of game. But snow is also fun. So. But anyways, I think that's pretty much it unless you have anything else to say.
Nope.
That's pretty much it for this episode. If you stay to the end, appreciate it. Feel free to check out social medias in the description and the Clips channel in the description. We will be coming out probably within the next week. We're going to be doing a video on some coaches and in the NFL and college and everything. So stay tuned for that if you're into the coaching stuff. And with the off-season coming out, I think the Clips channel is just going to get bombarded with off-season stuff because some off-season stuff you can fit into a podcast. Some of it is probably better for that kind of 10-minute, 15-minute video. So if you like off-season stuff, feel free to check out the Clips channel in the coming weeks. TikTok as well. We're going to be trying to put out some, off-season stuff, some coach stuff, some stuff that's conducive to a 60-second video. So if you're interested in that, feel free to check that out as well. But we will be back after these games, probably Sunday night. So farewell, everybody.